Hey everybody, welcome back to Bibles on a Budget. My name is CJ, and today we are taking a look at a offering from Tyndale in the King James Version. This is a wide margin journaling edition, and this is technically a hardback, but it's kind of not, kind of is, yes, no, it's really cool. I'll show you what I mean by all that back and forth stuff. But this is one of those offerings from Tyndale. They do the NLT, but they also do the King James Bible, which is pretty cool. So like if somebody wants a nice King James Bible and maybe they want access to the Filament app, which we'll talk about in a second, here you go. So first things first, outside, you kind of see what the Bible looks like. So it's a hardback, but the hard part of it is actually covered in their leather-like vegan leather, fake leather kind of stuff. So really cool. So here's some highlights of the Bible here on the left. Words of Christ in red. It's a single column Bible. It's Smythe stone. And it also has a really cool full color visual overview of the Bible, which we will take a look at in a minute. But here's the side of the box itself. The bottom of the box itself. Always love these boxes. My box is kind of damaged, so it's kind of not cool looking, but I don't really remember actually what the price of this Bible is. I actually got it during a discipleship, like a 10-day discipleship program that was put on actually by the place I work at, which is really cool. So I don't remember what the actual price of these are, but I got mine for, I think, about $80. So if you look around maybe on Amazon or even Tyndall themselves, you might be able to get these cheaper. I don't know. I'll put it in the description below. Anyway, here's the back. Again, this is wide margins, so this has 2¼ inch ruled margins. The font is 8 points, but I believe that's because of the margins themselves. Again, single column, Words of Christ in red, Smythe stone. It's got the Tyndall verse finder, which is super cool. It's kind of like you have a topic that you're trying to look for, and it'll tell you all the verses. We're going to look at that again in a second. Presentation page, ribbon marker, and the full King James Version. So you're not missing anything. It's the full King James Version. There's also maps and so on. And with these Bibles, you also get access to the Filament Bible app. Now, the only way that you can access these the Filament Bible app, should I say, not the but the Filament Bible app, because no one wants to download the but the Filament Bible app is really cool because you get digital access to a bunch of different resources. So the only way you can get access to it is if one, you have the app itself, but also you have a Bible that has this little logo here. If you can kind of see that, let me bring this up to you. You can kind of see that. The little logo right there. So if you have a Bible that has that little logo right there, you're going to find that logo like throughout the whole Bible. So without further ado, let's take a look at the Bible itself. I'm going to try to pull it out here off camera because it's just going to be way easier. But ta-da! Here's the Bible in all of its absolute gorgeous beauty. So like I said, this is hardback, but the hard part of it, or rigid cover, is covered in their leather-like. So that's their fake leather again. So this is pretty ornate. It's really cool looking. I like it. It's got Holy Bible on the front in this diamond spot. And then it's got King James here. It's a little hard to read because this is blind stamped, whereas this I think is just kind of like on it. So this might rub off, but this is not because this is stamped in. So there you go. You know this is the King James. And on the side, if you forgot, this is the King James. So sometimes I really like the Tyndale spines. Sometimes with the Tyndall spines, they have all their stuff up here and then just a bunch of space down here. But what I like about this one is that you have the ornate design here and then everything is moved to the middle and it's not too cluttered. It's not too crazy. It just says Tyndall, Holy Bible, King James Version. Super nice. On the back, you get the same ornate design. And then down here in the corner, it's a little hard to see again because it's blind stamped, but you do have the ISBN down there. So now, let's take a look at the inside of this Bible. So you got kind of a a foresty green. I don't know what kind of green this is, but a paper paste down liner. And the same thing for this sheet here. There's the presentation page, and you have the two intro pages. Now this one also has a verse on the back of the presentation page, which is Psalms 119, 105 in the classic King James. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And then the intro. So here's what I'm talking about. So this QR code will also give you access, depending on what phone you have or device you have. It will, I think, should link to your app store. But this is the QR code to get the app. I think you can just search for the app on the App Store or the Play Store and download it. But without one of these Bibles, you kind of really can't do anything because, and I will show you in a second. But first, I apologize for that little sound a second ago. But here's the copyright page. Now, because this is the King James, you can take the Bible text and use it for anything. Because the King James is, what's it called? Public domain. Open source, that's what I was trying to say, but it's actually public domain. So anybody can use the King James in any of their stuff. Same goes for the BSB and the upcoming MSB, which is really cool. But anyway, here's the contents page, tell you about the Bible itself. You do have the epistle dedicatory to King James, which is for the authorized King James Version. Old New Testaments. The verse finder is on page 1595, and then the visual overview is on a page called Z1. And then down here, you're going to see these throughout the text. You're going to see this in-text symbol down here, this asterisk. Basically what happens is it will show the existence of a footnote at the bottom of the page. Location connects the footnote to the content of the wording in the Bible text. So that's really cool. And I'll show you an example of that as well, because these have some actually really cool footnotes that are really useful for reading the King James. So if you love the King James, but you struggle with some of those old-timey words, my friend, check this Bible out. All right, so let's go to the next page here. There's the epistle dedicatory to King James. So there's that. It's not as ornate, not as fancy as the one in the 1611 copy from Thomas Nelson, but clear, readable, super cool, love it. And then here's some explanation of the Filament Bible. So basically you have access to study notes and devotional stuff. So you grab your device, open your App Store or Google Play, search for Filament Bible, install the app, and then it will prompt you how to use it. So there you go, super cool. And you're going to see this symbol, this little light bulb symbol, everywhere in the Bible text. And I will, again, explain to you what that does. Let's talk about it now in the Old Testament here. So at the very top, I probably explained this to you in some previous reviews, but just in case you forgot, that little symbol there next to the number 3, that is the filament symbol. And so on any of these pages in the Filament app, you just scan the page number and it'll give you some information about what's on this page. So that's really cool. And then now we also get a sneak peek, or not really a sneak peek, but an actual like full-blown peek of the margins. These are 2¼ inch margins, super nice. If you're someone like me who has a really hard time compressing your notes, no matter how big the margin is, you're still going to run out of room. So if you're like me, it's like, I'm just going to write up the whole page on one verse. So be aware of that. If you're somebody who's just going to take like some real quick, simple notes, there you go. Also, let me show you, also here, you're going to notice, if I can get my phone to focus, let's see if I can get my phone to focus. I'll just do it right there. Notice right there, there's a little dot there. That's a little asterisk. Well, that corresponds to this note down here. This might be blurry. 1/6 firmament. It's talking about, what is that? It's space. So that's pretty cool. So they're gonna tell you, what do these words mean? What does this stuff mean? So what is a firmament? Because we don't use firmament anymore. We might say sky, or we might even say atmosphere. But yeah, and also, again, the King James also has words in italics that are added for the sake of English, not because they're trying to add and change and manipulate and do all kinds of stuff. No, these words were added for clarity's sake. So But like it says, this is a single column, very simple, not too many thrills. Love the font. The font is really simple. You know, it's readable. I wish it was a little bolder though. It's not bad, but I wish it was a little bolder. You do get big chapter numbers. You get slightly larger than the text, pericopes, and then always the big name up there. And so there you go, and then some more footnotes. So as you go through the Bible, you're going to notice a lot more footnotes because it's going to tell you what a lot of these things mean, what a lot of these words mean, which is incredibly useful. And you know, if you want to put those in the side margins so you can actually see them, they're not these tiny, tiny things, you can put those there too. You know, it's your Bible, you do whatever you want with it. All right, so again, this is prose. So this is like the story stuff. You'll notice there's probably also some poetry somewhere, but this is single column. So let's go to something like Psalms or Job. Why not Job? This Bible is a paragraph. Actually, no, it's not. Sorry. I am so wrong. This is verse by verse. So usually most King James Bibles are verse by verse. I think there are some that are paragraph formats, but these are verse by verse, even the poetry. And this also does come with a red ribbon marker, as I mentioned before, and it's also gilded. I forgot to mention that in my my look around on the Bible. It is gilded, so it's kind of fancy. I like it. It's pretty nice. And I will tell you, my copy, the gilding does stick. So if you run across some pages or you kind of mess with it a little bit and you kind of hear that crunchy noise, that just means that the gilding is sticking. So don't worry. It just means you're going to have to go, like, as you go through, if you run across pages that are stuck together. I think these are stuck together. Are these? No. But you're going to run across some, it might be stuck at the corners or something. Just, you know, just slide your finger through the little opening and break them up, and there you go. So anyway, that's the Old Testament. Let's take a look at the New Testament, which the New Testament, as it says on the box, the words of Christ are in red, because a lot of people love their words of Christ in red. I don't mind it either way, but here it is. This is Mark chapter 12. You can see a lot of it here. This is actually a pretty decent red. I think this is kind of comparable to Thomas Nelson's red. It's kind of almost like a, I don't know, orangish, pinkish red, if that's a color. I don't think my lights or my camera do any justice to how nice the red is. It's actually pretty nice. I like it. So, you know, it really helps. But if you're somebody who is, you know, you have like color blindness, this is just going to become like, I think, what, black or brown? If you're colorblind, let me know, because I know a lot of people struggle with red in their Bibles, and that's why we also have companies like Thomas Nelson that do have Bibles that are in the words of Christ are in blue, which is really cool, and also Humble Lamb does that by default, so that's really cool. So there's that. So let's go to the back and let's look at the back matter, the back material, so you can know what else is in this Bible. So after the book of Revelation, you get to the Tyndall verse finder. So again, this is really cool. So you have all these topics. I believe this is an A to Z one. Most of these are A to Z. Sometimes in the King James, it's usually A to Y. So I can show you that in a second. But so you have different topics, and you like, oh, I'm wondering about abortion, or I'm wondering about adultery, or wondering about depression or determination. You'll have these verses where they're talking about, they'll give you, like sometimes they'll give you a little thing like you should not desire something that belongs to someone else, and then it'll link you to that verse about that. So they'll give you kind of like these little blurbs about them, and then they'll tell you where to find them. And then they'll also even tell you what page. So that's really cool. You can kind of see that a little better. So that's really cool. And then after the verse finder, you have a visual overview of the Bible. And then you also, before that, you have a few blank pages. So if you want to add some more notes there you go. Yes, this is A to Y. So, but there you go. So here's the visual overview of the Bible. So this includes maps, but it also includes these little charts here, which are really cool. Let me see if I can try this. And these are on more cardstocky paper. So these are thicker than the normal Bible paper. But you can see here's the world of the patriarchs. And then talking about the plagues, you got this little graphic about the 10 plagues. And then the Exodus when they were exiting Egypt. And then here is a chart about Israel's annual calendar. So that's really cool. So you can kind of see like when their months would coincide with our months, and then when their feasts and stuff would coincide with our modern day. And then you also see down here are the annual feasts, which is really cool. And then the 12 tribes of Israel. So you can see all of them here graphically on this map. And the kingdoms of Israel. So that's cool. And then the book of Psalms. And so what they're doing here is, you notice there's this color legend over here and all these different dots with numbers in them. What this is telling you is that they're telling you like what these are, what they're about, like what their theme is. So for instance, this goldish one is praise. This kind of greenish blue one here is thanksgiving. This lightish blue over here is trust. You have royal over here, I believe it is. I'm trying to see. There's actually, no, sorry. This one's royal. And this one is messianic. So these are messianics. It says 17 Psalms are messianic, painting a picture of the coming Christ. And then it also talks about vindication and then lamentation over here. And also wisdom. Actually, this is vindication. The colors, I'm having a little trouble with my lights, so forgive me. But yeah, these circles will tell you what chapters these are from, and then what their theme is. So, like, if you're wanting to know, I want to read some psalms about praise or vindication or some messianic psalms, you can come back here. This is page 20. This is page Z7. Again, this is after the verse finder, so you can come to Z7 and find it here. And then we got the prophets. So I'm going to turn this around so you can kind of see this. So you got a timeline of when the prophets show up, so that's really cool. So you have Jonah, Amos, Hosea, Isaiah, Micah, Zephaniah, Habakkuk, Nahum, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Obadiah, Joel in question mark, because I guess they're trying to figure out when, they're not exactly sure when Joel shows up, Haggai, Zechariah, and then Malachi. And according to this, there's this thing right here is telling you how many words are in the book, and then the years of their ministry. So that's really cool. And then you kind of get some other dates: Israel's fall in 722 BC, Judah's fall in 605, in 597, 586 BC, exiles return to Jerusalem, 538, and so on. And then kind of a key on how to understand all of this. And then over here we have the exile. So this is stuff going to Babylon and so on. So you have, again, a legend showing you the different paths and what these different colors mean. So that's really cool. And then the ministry of Jesus, kind of explaining different spots. So you have all these different circles with letters in them, and over here it'll tell you what those things are and where they're at. So the ones in kind of this bluish green all happen in Galilee. The one that happens in this orangish red happen in Samaria, and then the ones in the kind of the purplish red happen in Judea. And so you got the map here, and you kind of see all the different, they'll tell you the different events and what's going on there. And then the prophecies of the Messiah. So this is really cool, because what this is doing is it's connecting the Old Testament to the New Testament and telling you how the Old Testament predicted Christ. And so this is really cool. So Old Testament prophecies right here, and then tells you what they basically say and what the Messiah is to be. And then the New Testament fulfillments. These are all kind of in a really small font. So if you happen to have you can't really see all the small stuff really well, I would recommend, if you're going to get this, use a magnifying glass. But it's really cool. So again, Old Testament prophecies, what the Messiah is to be. New Testament, and then you kind of see how this, like, it goes to it. So Numbers, Psalms, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Hosea, all of them are referenced here in Matthew, and then also some reference in Mark, and then over here you got references in Luke and in John. So there's that. And then the first journeys of the Christian leaders. So you get an explanation of Peter's journey, Paul's journey, Philip. This is not Philip the disciple, but Philip the evangelist. So a completely different Philip. Here's Paul's missionary journeys. And then the Old Testament and New Testament letters. So this is talking about, let's see what it says. It says, just as Jesus himself and the writers of the Gospels often refer to the Old Testament, the writers of the New Testament letters also quote it regularly as they taught and encouraged the young churches. So this is talking about the references in the New Testament of like they're quoting from the New Testament or the Old Testament. They're talking about that kind of stuff. So these Bibles are so full of really cool stuff. This is not on its own a study Bible. This is a Bible with a lot of cool features and access to a lot of digital study tools, a lot of digital notes, a lot of digital devotionals, all that kind of stuff. So if you are a fan of the King James, if you're someone who prefers it, you rather use it, you rather study from it, you're not a fan of a lot of the modern translations, but you want a good Bible. You want a Bible that has resources. Check this one out. I recommend it. If you are just someone who loves the King James, check this out. This Bible is pretty thick. I'm going to say it's probably close to 2 inches thick. It's a big, chunky boy, but it's awesome. It looks beautiful. It's full of amazing stuff. I think when it comes to this kind of stuff, Tyndale is killing it. Really great. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this review from Bibles on a Budget. And remember, folks, the truth does not have to be expensive. See you in the next one.